I may be the prettiest, but these videos are the greatest of all time. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And click that notification bell.
Pretty good, exciting match has been announced. There's a possibility, the rumors are that sometime in April, Sergey Kovalev will be fighting the Cuban Sullivan Barrera. And this is a very good match. I think the fight was packed at 180, not at 175. I don't know the full details of it. And I'm not going to get into the full details once I do get them because I have been asked not to. But this fight right here should be a really good fight. And this fight right here should be a make-or-break fight for both fighters. Why do I say both fighters? Because I believe both fighters are coming out of a loss, right? Sullivan Barrera comes out of a loss, then goes on to have surgery on his shoulder, and he hasn't fought ever since. So, to me, in my opinion, to come back against a Sergey Kovalev speaks volume of this cat. No ifs, buts, or ands about it. When you have that sort of situation on your hands, and you automatically wanna come out with a guy that, although he has lost, he's still a tough guy. Although he has lost, he still possesses power. Although he has lost, he ain't no dummy. In other words, you're using a pretty decent guy as your comeback fight. Then to me, that deserves a hand of applause. And to be honest with you guys, Sullivan Barrera is a fighter. I personally met him in Cuba. Let me tell you the quick story. I went to Cuba to visit my father, and while I was there, I had the opportunity to go to a fighter that was just inducted to the national team. His name was Carlos Oñate, and while I was there, I met Sullivan Barrera. I met Erislandy Lara's mom. And I met several other fighters, excellent fighters that were fighters and mango salesmen on a corner, unfortunately, due to the situation in the country. When I met Sullivan Barrera, everyone told me he was a good fighter and was going to have a great future ahead of him if he knew how to apply himself. Well, Sullivan Barrera got here, and I'm not going to say he was not disciplined. It's quite mysterious to me why this fighter is not bigger than he actually is. But sometimes things happen on the way, and you just have to adapt to whatever comes your way. Nevertheless, he's getting this fight versus Sergey Kovalev later than I would have liked to see. I would have loved to see this fight probably 3 or 4 years ago, but it's happening now. And like I said, it's a comeback fight. It's a make-or-break fight for him. On the other hand, Sergey Kovalev, after coming out of that obliteration that Canelo Alvarez gave him, obliteration, Canelo Alvarez put it to him. Canelo Alvarez took him to school. Canelo Alvarez gave him a pillow. Canelo Alvarez put him to sleep. Give him a taste of his own medicine, if we will. That destroyer got destroyed that night, not for the first time. I mean, you know, I went back and saw him getting destroyed versus that Colombian guy. But nevertheless, it happened, you know. And so Sergey Kovalev now has to make this a very important fight. Because he comes out of that loss. He's dealing with some DUIs. He's dealing with domestic violence cases in court. So these are things that potentially will affect him in preparation to this fight. And these are also things that Sullivan Barrera's camp needs to be aware of and take advantage of. You need to break this fighter mentally on the press. You need to bring these cases up during the press. This can either work for you or work terribly against you. But nevertheless, you have to get to that fighter's head. You have to. You just have to do anything it takes to basically get your opponent to decrease, to deviate his focus 100% from the game plan, to go to sleep with those words in his head. And this is why I say it may work for or terribly against you. But then again, when you have a fighter that's trying to fight, that's trying to train, he's in and out of court, he's got a DUI, he's dealing with domestic violence. Domestic violence usually translates into money. It also usually translates into EPOs or restraining orders, back and forth, conversations with the lawyer, stress. He may not even have a good camp because stress takes a bigger effect in your body. Weight, it affects you in your weight loss. It affects you on your overall health, your focus, on your sleep. And if you're not sleeping and you're training, you're not recovering. So I'm telling you, both fighters here have pretty difficult thing ahead of them. One hasn't fought. He's coming out of a surgery. And he's coming back against Sergey Kovalev. And Sergey Kovalev's got those issues coming up. Once I have all the details in this fight, I might make a more in-depth prediction. For now, I'm going to give you a little prediction. What should we expect? If you hear some noises, I do want to apologize because there's remodeling going on as we speak. But nevertheless, you have basically Sullivan Barrera, who we all know. It's not a secret that this young man, well, not so young anymore. I think both fighters are actually above the 35 age mark. I believe so. Check on that. Don't quote me. Don't hold me as a fact on that. When you have Sullivan Barrera, we all know that he possesses pretty decent boxing skills, right? He is not very, very smart in the ring, but he is kind of smart. He knows how to make good decisions in there. Even in the fights that he's been shut down, if we will, you can tell that he wasn't doing all that bad, except his last defeat. I haven't seen it, so I can't really judge on it. So the one thing Sullivan Barrera needs to do in this fight is go back to his essentials, go back to his basics. Keep Kovalev at the end of your jab. Keep him at the end of your right hand. Hook him, turn him, make him chase you, counterpunch him all night long, right? Because some people think that it's always a good idea to back the puncher up, back him up, make him fight moving backwards. But Sergey Kovalev can fight moving backwards. And Sergey Kovalev right now, his reflexes are not the same. And Sergey Kovalev right now still does not possess the best defense there is. And Sergey Kovalev right now, when he shoots his jab, he is open for a counter easily because he hangs that punch. So think about it. A fighter like Barreras can take advantage of this disadvantage, of these mistakes that Kovalev is offering him in a silver platter. That's just it. Not a lot of ring movement, not a lot of hopping around. Need to move him, turn him, keep him at mid-range, long range. That mid-range, go to the body, start working that bread basket, right? Uppercuts. He is so open for uppercuts. He is so open for overhand rights. Take advantage of all of this. Test him in the first 4 rounds. If you see that your punches are not having a devastating effect on him, then you might want to move away from the desire of the knockout and just put a punishment on him. Don't outbox him with pillow shots, but put a punishment on him. Outbox him while causing damage. Because you need this victory, Sullivan Barrera. You need this victory. If your wife is listening, if your camp is listening, you need this victory. Take it from a fellow Cuban. Take it from a fellow Guantanamero. Sergey Kovalev. A fighter that was once very feared. A fighter that was once a literal destroyer. A fighter that was once someone who didn't fit in the plans of any other boxer. After being knocked out, the world saw his weakness on his game. age started setting in. A smart promoter like Oscar de la Hoya held his fighter from Sergey Kovalev's best years. And when it was the right time, he put him in there and completely obliterated him. So now Sergey Kovalev has to make up a little bit for that. He has to come out and say, hey, listen, I still got a year, maybe 4 or 5 fights in me, and I can bring you the knockouts. I can bring you the excitement. Tune in to watch me. Because if you're going to retire, you might as well retire with fat purses. So what Kovalev needs to do is realize that he has a fighter in front of him who hasn't fought, that is coming out of surgery, and he needs to test that. He needs to see what the recovery is like on that fighter. He needs to apply pressure, constantly going to the body. Constantly going to the body. Bite down on that mouthpiece. Put your forehead on that chest. Bring it to the inside game. Hook him to the body. Bring it up. Clinch him. Turn him. Make it an ugly fight for him. Apply the pressure because you have the power. Apply the pressure because you can knock him out. Apply the pressure because you're not going to have the option to outbox Sullivan Barrera. You need to take advantage of all the situations you're going through and possibly turn it to your advantage. You need to use that rage that you probably feel every time you have to face the judge and use it against your opponent. You somehow need to use the nightmare thoughts of that knockout against Canelo. Let it burn you and use it against your opponent. Because you don't have the option to outbox your opponent. You do not possess the skills your opponent possesses. You possess, however, a lot more power than your opponent possesses. What is to come in this fight? Who knows? They both have to come out. They both have to prove themselves once again. And in my opinion, this is a last chance for both fighters to have a shot at something great in boxing. Whatever your thoughts are in this fight, let it be known. Let it be known on the comments. If you have not subscribed, shame on you. Subscribe. Activate the bell. If you're subscribed to me and you have not activated that notification bell, shame on you for not supporting the boy. I want to ask you to do that right now. Until next time, Raw Boxing TV, I'm out.